Hey everybody, I'm Vince. That's Ricky. Thanks a lot for stopping by for our next video, which is going to be about camp hosting. Ricky and I were campground hosts last summer in Oregon, about 35 miles south of La Pine, Oregon, in a city called Crescent, Oregon. And we had a campground right on the Crescent Lake. So I tend to ramble on, so in case you're in a hurry and you got to go somewhere, all in all, I think it's a pretty good gig. And I do have some qualifications, and I'll go over some of those for the next few minutes. But if you're in a rush and you got to go for it. It's a decent gig. For a single guy, that was me, and I had a dog, Rick. We did okay. There's also couples that do it. I've never seen anybody with, I think I saw one person with children, so that's a possibility. But it's not a bad gig, and I give it a thumbs up. All right, Rick, how did you like camp hosting? He loved it. He met probably 200 people a week, or maybe a little less. It was about 200 people a week, and he met about 20 dogs a week. And that's what he loves. He loves people and he loves dogs. That's all he wants to do. And so it was pretty good. We work for a private company who has some kind of agreement with the Forest Service, and they manage a lot of their campgrounds. So this is all going to be my opinion, and it's for the area. The things I'm going to tell you were for the areas in the Oregon part of the country. They are in about 18 states or so, and I'll put a link in the description where you can go to their website and see any existing openings they have. So where I worked, and we'll start right off the bat, everybody wants to know how much you get paid. So of course I got the campsite, and at the campground I worked at, they had no utilities. All there was a vault toilet, so anybody who came in there to work either had to have a generator or a solar system. So I had solar. The only trouble was I had about 25 trees blocking the really good sunshine. And so that was one of the problems I had, but since then I've beefed up my solar panels, so in case I run into that situation again, I have some portables that I can move around. But my trouble was I had 400 watts on the roof and only got really good juice for a few hours a day because of the tree. And where I worked, we were paid minimum wage. So in Oregon, I think it was at $14.53 per hour. I've noticed they have some campground openings in Washington, the state of Washington, and they're paying up to like 17 bucks an hour. Plus you get the campsite. And in many places there's utilities available for you. So the one worked out for me because we did have solar power. And it's a regular company you work for. I believe it's a corporation. I'm not, I'm really not positive. If they're privately owned or if it's a corporation, doesn't matter. It's a pretty large corporation. I believe in their video they say they do around 80 million in sales, so that's a good sized company. And they have the typical corporate type benefits if you want to enroll in them. I really don't need it. I get all my I got Medicare and all that kind of stuff, so I don't really need any benefits. But I believe that is available for you. They have a lot of training online, which is, okay. And then they do training before the season starts in their area warehouse type office. And that's where they park all their equipment and have all their tools, and the maintenance guys work out of there. And I had the office in my area was about a 45-minute drive from where Ricky and I were based in. So it's basically working for a regular job. The only difference is you get laid off for sure in approximately 5.5 months or so. And I think the job is suitable for anybody who has some type of camper. So your duties as being a campground host is, of course, taking care of the restrooms. Where Ricky and I worked, we had 19 sites, including the camp host. So it was 18 for campers and 1 for the host. And we had 2 vault toilets in one area. And those are really easy to take care of, approximately 30 yards away from my campsite. But part of your job is taking care of the bathrooms, making sure they're stocked with toilet paper all the time. And if you have like 20 sites, think, maybe there's 5 people at each site or 4 people at each site, so you're going to have maybe possibly 100 people over a weekend, using your bathrooms. So you got to be, ready to go and have your extra toilet paper ready in case you need it, and you got to be willing to check the johns. That's how you keep them clean. You check them, and if you're kind of active throughout the day, and it's one reason having Ricky really helped me. because I have to be active with Rick. And so me and Rick were on the go all the time, and every time we were out, I'd say, let me stop at the Johns and check them real quick. And I was able to take care of any problems. The other part of the job is keeping all your campsites clean. And that includes cleaning out the fire pit, picking up all the micro trash, and making sure it's look neat and orderly for the next people. At one campground I worked at, Sunset Cove, on Lake Odell in Crescent, Oregon, there was a lot of pine needles down, and you would rake the site. And each site looked pretty nice after you raked it. At Contorta Flat, where Ricky and I worked, it was so dusty and dirty, and we had no pine needles. I couldn't even rake the sites. It just make a huge dust bowl. So all we had to do was pick up the micro trash and clean out the fire pits. And anytime it was kind of damp or the wind didn't blow, then I would pull out the rake and smooth out the sites. And then, you schmooze all your campers. You talk to your campers. And basically that's the job. And so you have to take care of the campground. You have to go into the money holder thing. I think it's called the Iron Ranger. And people come in, and we have 3 or 4. Where I worked, we had 4 first come, first served sites, and those people would come in, fill out a slip, put cash in the envelope, and stick it in these things called the Iron Ranger. I would try to meet those people too, because using the Iron Ranger was a huge pain in the butt. You got to reach your hand up there, you got to fit a key in a lock. But if you're there, and it was right next to my camp host site, I would just meet them, introduce myself, do the spiel about the rules of the campground, and get the payment right there before they stick it in the Iron Ranger. But you will be accepting payment, and you got to keep track of that. I had a laptop that I let them put their software program in it, and we kept track of it using their software. But it makes it a lot easier versus handwriting stuff out. All right, Rick, what are some of the other things we have to tell them about being a camp host? So let's say you live somewhere close to campgrounds. That's a job you can consider if you have some type of camper. There's actually some camp hosts that do it from tents too. It's a wonderful job. I know some people who lived, about 40 miles away, and they had a pull trailer, and they parked a trailer and they were camp hosts. They spend the summer in a beautiful campground right on a lake, and then on their days off they would run home, about a 45-mile drive, and make sure everything at home was okay. And I think that's really a half a good job if you live close to a campground and you like spending the summer outdoors. Now then, if you're a nomad, I think it's a great part-time job. You work about 5.5 months. And consider this, suppose being a nomad you have very low expenses. And especially if you have some type of disability or retirement income, you almost bank your whole salary that you get. And if you work in an area where they're paying minimum wage, that could be $500 or $600 a week. That could actually bank. And in 5.5 months, you'll come up with a pretty big chunk of change, plus you spend a summer outdoors. Now, there's a couple of qualifications you have to be to handle a job being a camp host. Now, if you're a type of what do they call that? A type A personality, and you want everything perfect, and you want to work for a company that's perfect with great managers there, and your managers are going to be awesome and blah, blah, blah. It's not quite like that. You want the Forest Service to be quite perfect. It's not quite like that, and you're going to have trouble if that's what you expect getting this job. You have to be easygoing. If you're an operations guy, you're probably used to getting stuff done with no excuses. You just, that's part of your job. You get it done. And working in the private sector, that's kind of the way it is. Here, it's not quite like that. We're dealing with the Forest Service. You're dealing with a private company, or even if they're a public company, it doesn't matter. They're dealing with the Forest Service. So things just don't get done the way you want them to get done. I'll give you one good example that drove me nuts. It was an 11-mile drive to get to my campground. So 7 of the miles were on a crappy road. 4 of the miles were terrible. I mean, flat tire, broken axles, I've seen it. I think I saw 3 flat tires and 2 broken axles. And that's just me, by chance I happen to hear about it. I'm sure there's probably many more stories of that. On a road that was so bad I hated driving on it. You know what the Rangers call it? They call it a 5 or 50 road. You're either going to drive 5 miles an hour on it or you're going to drive 50. When they fixed the road, they started it September 28th. literally September 28th, when the season was over. And you know, the road was perfect. But yeah, so who made that decision? Who knows? But so for like 4 months, everybody driving on that road in their own private vehicles got the crap bounced out of them. Now then, how about everybody else who works for private companies that have employees out there, or the Forest Service? How come they're not up in arms about the road? Because they all use company vehicles. They're not driving their own vehicle on those damn roads. So they're in no rush to fix it. So somebody made a decision, we'll just let it go all summer. Let all their campers drive on this crappy road and ruin their vehicles, and then we'll fix it when the season is over. So it's in good shape for next year. But so that's kind of the things you put up with. And you know, you could beat yourself over the head, or you just kind of smile and keep walking on. So again, that's why a number or a, what do you call it, an A personality, you know, might have trouble in the job. You have to be easygoing. You're going to meet a lot of knucklehead campers too. But for the most part, people are okay. But yeah, there's quite a few knuckleheads out there. So if you have a short fuse, maybe not a good job for you. You know, people are coming to your campground and being on, you know, on vacation. They're working somewhere, you know, all, you know, day after day, and then you know they pick a weekend or a few weeks or a week out, you know, to come to your campground. You know, you don't want to give them a hard time and ruin their, you know, their week off. So you got to be easygoing with your camper. So if you're going to be a person like that, I think, you know, that'd be a pretty good job for you. You know, if you need stuff done right away and you have a no excuse policy and it's got to be done like this, yeah, you won't last more than a couple days. And there's openings all the time. But I suggest go to the link in the description, and that'll take you right to the company that has the contract with the Forest Service. And on their website, you can sign up to get on their email list, and they'll send you all their new openings. Plus, you can search for any openings by the state. You know, you want to work in California, in Tennessee, in Texas, in Florida, in Washington, wherever. They're in 18, 19 states, roughly speaking. Not too much on the east. There's a couple of East Coast stuff. Most of the stuff is in the west, southwest. And I did see some Tennessee, and I think some Carolina and some Florida stuff. But, you know, check it out for yourself. And they have other jobs besides camp hosting. They have gate attendants. I've seen marina workers. Plus, really another good job you can think about is being a maintenance worker. You know, if you're a handyman type guy, yeah, they need maintenance guys because, you know, stuff breaks from time to time and they need somebody to go fix it. And one of the big problems with campgrounds are dogs not on leashes. Yeah, you got to talk to people. Dogs got to be on a leash. You know, somebody could tell you that their dog is good off a leash, but if a dog off a leash is not on your heel and walking with you everywhere you go, that dog is not good off leash. If the dog that's off leash will chase something and run away or run and go meet somebody, you know, away from his owner, it's not a dog that's good off leash. A dog that's good off leash stays on the owner's heel and just follows everywhere he goes and doesn't take off to chase anybody. For example, Ricky's wouldn't be a good dog off leash. I mean, he listens to me, he doesn't run away, and I'll tell him to stop, he stops. I tell him to come back, he comes back. But yeah, he's not going to stay on my heel. While we're walking, if somebody comes up or another dog, well, he's going to take off and he's going to want to meet him. So that's a problem. You have to tell people, please keep your dogs on leash. And a lot of people will say, well, I'm on vacation and this is, you know, we want to let out and have some fun. And you just let them know. No, you do that at home. Here in the campground, your neighbor is 10 feet away. You know, not everybody loves dogs, especially if you have like a larger or a dog that might be intimidating. You know, they don't want to see your dog running loose. So you have to keep the dogs on leash, and so that might be a problem you're going to come up with. Especially another thing about dogs off leash. What does a dog off leash do who's not on his owner's heel? He poos out there that the owner doesn't pick up. I mean, I've seen it dozens and dozens of times. But that's one of the things you have to deal with. It's just a pet peeve of mine. So all in all, I think Camp Host is a pretty good gig if you're looking for a job that lasts approximately 5.5 months, of course, depending where you are. And once I'll speak about the Northwest a little bit, because I was in Oregon, in case you want to work in that area. Oregon has probably the best summer I've ever seen at about 4,200 feet elevation. But the only trouble is it only lasts like about a month. You know, I was using the heater up until about July 1st. So it's a little chilly in the morning, a little chilly at night. The days are perfect, but when the summer starts, just right around July 1st, it's about the best weather you can get. It's nice in the morning, heats up to about 80 degrees, and then at about 5 or 6 o'clock it starts cooling down, and you just have a wonderful evening. It's like that really every night for about 2 months or so. It's probably the nicest summer I've ever seen. So in case you're thinking about working in the Oregon area, and Washington could be like that too, I'm not sure. You should check that out. And I know where I worked in the area I worked, they just had tons of openings all the time. And there's a lot of turnover, so there's a chance even if you don't get hired now, or you don't feel like, looking into it now, and maybe you think about it in May or June, yeah, there's a chance you could get hired too, because I saw a lot of new people being hired in May or June. But Ricky, I'm talking about camp hosting. Ricky was an excellent camp host. He met everybody. He made everybody. I mean, he would just stand there and bark at you until you said hello to him and pet him, right, Rick? He's a good worker. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in a comment. I'll be glad to answer in case I didn't cover it here. And so what I have in store, I'm still trying to get into a schedule of doing videos, because we've done some pretty cool things lately. Last week we were in, I think it's called the Pilot Knob area. That's about 20 miles west of Yuma, about 50 miles south of Blythe, California. And there was a Van Aid thing where people donated material and their time. There was, carpenters, solar guys, plumbers, handyman type guys, and they were fixing people's vans and trailers and stuff. And a lot of people donated, not only did they donate their time, they also donated the materials. And then there was also the Gypsy Minstrels had a little get together, and I hung around with those guys for a week. But, I didn't film it, but we're getting ready to take off again. You know where we're going next? We're going to Phoenix because we're going to spring training for the Cleveland Guardians. That's been like on my bucket list for a long time. I stopped up there already and scoped out the area. I found some state trust land that Ricky and I can camp on, and we're going to hang around the Cleveland Guardians spring trainer and watch them practice, and then maybe catch a few exhibition games. The Guardians are the old Cleveland Indians. And so that's my hometown. I've been a fan of the Indians since, I was like 5 years old or so. Yeah, Ricky, he's all excited. He's ready to go. But we're going to be heading out, and I'm going to film the whole thing from the time we pack up till the time we land somewhere in Phoenix. Okay, Rick, anything else you want to say? No? Okay. Make sure you check out our shorts. I just put up a video Ricky eating strawberries because he was such a great guy. All right, thanks again. See you in the next video.